Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video lesson, it's going to be a little bit longer than normal. I'm going to take this goblet that Joe turned on the lathe for me out of a piece of scrap 4x4 cedar post. And I'm going to create a planter. And it's for this little cute little cactus. Doesn't need a lot of water, so I can do it in this. Oops, dirt's coming out. So with this, there's screw holes here, and I did have some wood filler. Can't find it. So I'm going to be using the Décor Dimensional Effects Paintable Texture Paste to see what it looks like. So the look for this is going to be a washed effect, and the colors, wood. So typically, you know, I like to do a stain. I have another project I'm going to do a stain with, but with this, I'm going to be painting it with a tropical flare. Got a lot of paint out here, so I'm going to call out what I'm going to be using, but I reserve the right as a creative to substitute some stuff as I start working on the piece. To start off, I've got some Décor Americana multi-purpose sealer to seal the wood. Then I've got some Décor chalky gesso, and I've got it in a smaller tube because this is too hard for me to handle. And I've got the Décor Media Fluid Acrylics Titanium White, Cerulean Blue, Phthalo Green Blue. I've got some Décor Americana Texture Sand Medium, Décor Vintage Effect Wash Turquoise, White, and then I already mentioned about the dimensional effects, and then some Décor Metallic Luster in Brilliant Turquoise. You kind of get an idea what color flare I'm going for here. So I want to also talk about the priming of this. So although this was turned on the lathe, the end grain is quite rough. For this purpose, it doesn't really matter. Oh, you know what I forgot to bring out? Aha! The gloss varnish. The gloss varnish. Hang on a second. Sorry about that. The Duraclear High Gloss Varnish. Because this is indoor-outdoor, so I'll use that to line the inside. The end grain is quite rough, but it doesn't matter because it's basically for the inside. Now, if I was going to be planting something that required a lot of water, I would actually line this with plastic. But because it's a cactus which requires very little water, I'm talking like a tablespoon of water, painting this with the Duraclear High Gloss Varnish is fine. I've done it before, and I've got pieces that are still going on 5-6 years. Now, I'm going to use the multi-purpose sealer on this just to, protect this, okay, because I'm not sure if I'm going to use this outside. I might not, I don't know. But I'm going to apply a coat of gesso because I did an experiment already. So the technique I'm going to use is a lot of layering, and normally on a surface that's not brown, you can just go with the Vintage Effect wash. But because it's semi-transparent, some of the brown of the cedar is showing through, but the gesso makes it white. So I'm going to be using gesso instead. Okay, so let's move all this stuff out of the way. And I'm going to, let me get this stuff over here and get the stuff. It's a lot of stuff. Okay, I need this, the gesso can move here, and I need this. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the holes. And I was contemplating filling these with liquid glass, and because I do a lot of resin work, I would like to have, given the look of resin. Now, if you think of, here's some resin here, and the look of resin with wood is absolutely stunning. But with the effect that I'm going here of a very beachy, distressed beachy look, the resin really doesn't make sense. Okay, so I'm not going to do it for this particular project. Now, normally you just use, let's try this again. Normally you would use wood filler, but I don't have any. So anytime you use any of the products, make sure you follow the directions 100% on the label. And so that's my public safety announcement. Okay, so I'm just going to apply. And this, again, was turned on the lathe, and it was sanded with, I think, let's see, sandpaper would have been going from 200 grit right up to, I think, probably 8,000. Now, if you guys, I've got a lot of new projects coming up I've never done before. A lot of it is going to be with wood and wood jewelry. I've got coasters coming up that I'm going to be making with wood and resin. A lot of stuff using acrylics for pours, and I finally mastered how to get the cells. Look how beautiful that is once you just get it wet. So would you guys like to see like other stuff other than just, you know, the typical painting stuff, like stuff that's other than artist trading cards, like actual home decor pieces, creative pieces? Let me know in the comments below if you guys are interested in seeing that. Now, although this is basically because we made, or Joe made this, I designed it, Joe made it. You can pick up stuff like this at a consignment store. Like up here in Canada, we have Tilly's and Value Village. I don't know where you are in the world, so you'd have to, whatever, see what's there. You can get stuff like this on Amazon as well. So if you like the style of this project, think of it just not so much of the paint that I'm using, but it's the technique, and you can substitute whatever colors you want. So I'm going to paint this. I probably should have waited for that. I'm going to paint this, and then you let it sit depending on how porous the wood is. So if the wood is very, very porous, you're going to let it sit for a few hours. But it also depends on your environment. So that's why I say always follow the directions on your product label. I'm just going to wipe off the excess. And with this here, I'm thinking for the end grain, a bristle brush and just really pushing it in. It doesn't matter that this is rough because it's the inside. So with this, I'm not even going to use the heat gun because I want the wood to absorb this sealer, and it's going to protect it from, not just protect it from the elements, but it's going to, the product is going to sit on it a lot better. It's going to be more uniform. Sometimes when you work with wood, especially when working with a stain, I'm going to show that in another video, it can be really, really splotchy. Okay, so that takes care of that. So I'm going to let that sit for, well, really until it's dry, at least an hour, and then we'll come back and we'll start base coating the whole piece. All right, so it's all dried now, and you can see that it's darkened quite a bit. The inside isn't quite dry, but it doesn't matter because we're not doing anything with this until the very end. Well, I had a thought, because I'm already going to be using the texture sand medium on part of the goblet, I'm thinking I can just use this to fill the holes. I don't need to use the texture paste. So I could do that. So in this too, it's, you know, it's not super hard, but at least the finish will be consistent. So I can use this opportunity to put the texture sand paste there. Then when it comes to that time when I do have to put this texture sand paste, then I can just cover the hole. So that will eliminate one step. All right, so that's that. Gesso time. And just going to pour some gesso on here. And use the same brush. And this, it doesn't matter how, it doesn't have to be a perfect coating. And I'm going to bring this down slightly because we're going to be putting additional color on here. What you don't want are paint ridges. What I mean by paint ridges, you don't want to see that unless that's the effect you're going for. Oh, that's a hole right through. Yeah, that's a hole right through. So I'm going to put a nice even coat on this, thin even coat. And with the gesso, I mean, you can use primer on this. There's actually Décor has got some nice stain, like color stains, which I don't have. So that would have been a nice idea. Oh, maybe I'll do another project, maybe with a plate or something. I went on the lathe because I haven't been on it for a while because of my arthritis, but I'm starting to, get into the swing of things with pain management. And when I feel nothing, I get out of the office and I go into the workshop and I play in there. Just to create some new and interesting things. Now that, although we're in the fourth wave. Yeah, I got to do a video where you mentioned COVID. Although we're in the fourth wave, we have access to a lot more stores now. Before, the places we were getting all our wood supplies, I mean, you could only do curbside pickup, and with that, they pick the product. And when it comes to wood, no, I have to actually hold the wood in my hands, look at the grain, look how the color, and all that stuff. The worst place for that is Lowe's and Home Depot. Oh my God, the quality of their wood, really crap. So we will never, ever buy wood like that again. All right, so that's that. Now the beauty of this type of project as well is because we're going to be we're creating a distressed look. You can even call it, shabby chic. I'm not a fan of that term, but you could create, because it's more of a rough distressed, you can call it cottagey, depending on the colors you're using, you can be a little rougher with the paint. So let's say your goblet was, let's say, black. You can apply the gesso and then sand it down to reveal some of the areas. So I'm going to go in, just make sure I touch everything up. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to come back off camera so I don't waste your time. I'm going to apply a second layer of paint, and then I'm going to flip it over, do the other side, and then we'll start applying our first layer of color. Use my little painter's pyramids and I got 2 coats on there, but I'm going to come in with the Vintage Effect wash just to go over. It'll even everything out. There's no point in going over with the gesso again. It's not necessary. Where's my brush? Oh shoot, I can't reach it. I have to get a clean one. Oh goodness gracious me. And just going to take this now and just going to apply that. The finish is different from the gesso, so I'm going to put that on. This will just take very little time to dry. And I forgot to add in that when we come in with the next step is we're going to make a nice blue color. I'm going to mix that with the texture sand to apply. I'm going to fill this in with texture sand first, so I don't waste paint going inside the holes. Now, if you think of it, you could really do this project in any color you want. And really what you're doing is you're mixing flat finish paints with texture. So you could do this, with the texture. You could use texture paste. You could use the modeling paste, whether it's clear, white, black, and the key is using contrasting colors with the layers, and you're not painting over everything. You're just painting over some areas because you're having each layer showing through. And if you don't want something with texture, then don't use it. So this is very, very forgiving. One thing I did forget to mention, if you were using a very heavy grained wood, you'll want to sand gently after using the multi-purpose sealer. All right, but this technique is really, really forgiving. I don't need to put anything on the bottom. All right, so let's put these back into their little cubbies and put that on there. All right, so that I'm going to let dry for a few minutes. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to mix up my paints. my foam board that I had on here was doing some resin projects and it leaked, and now I don't have anything. So I'm just using a sheet of paper. All right, so now I'm going to create my blue, and the blue is going to mix with the texture sand medium. So with this, I'm going to be mixing this when it's done 1-to-1 paint with the medium. If you want a very heavy texture, add more medium, obviously. If you don't want it as transparent as I'm working with, use something like the Décor Traditions or the Americana Premium Acrylics. I have more of a heavy body acrylic. I want this to be more transparent. I can go right into the existing mixture here. So I'm going to put out roughly a loonie-sized for, I don't know what that is, something, let's say about an inch and a half of the fluid acrylic, the titanium white. And then the cerulean blue, I'm going to place it on the side. And with that levels, it'll be about a dime. And then phthalo green blue, the same amount. And then the texture sand medium, I'm going to put out, oh God, I don't like these bottles for this medium at all. Sorry about that. Don't like these bottles at all for this medium. All right, so I'm going to try to hold that upside down. Let's see. I can actually go with, actually I just have to mix it first. So I'm going to take the white and I'm going to add about half of the cerulean blue and half of the phthalo green blue and mix that all in. Oh, okay, way too green. The value is right, but it's way too green. And I keep getting confused. I'm using cerulean blue. I'm out of phthalo blue. I would have used phthalo blue, which would have been a lot less. So I'm going to have to go in with, I would say, double the cerulean blue maybe. There we go. So 2 parts cerulean blue, half a part. So in that 1 to 2, yeah. So no, half a part of phthalo green blue, 2 parts cerulean blue, and then it would have been about 4 to 5 parts of the white. I like that. I like that. You can even make it darker if you want. Just want to make sure that's really well mixed. And even if you have some dried bits of gesso and paint, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is a very forgiving paint. I'm not sure there's going to be enough paint. So now to this, I'm going to add equal parts of the texture sand medium, but I put out extra because this is fluid acrylics. It may not be enough. We're not covering the whole piece. No, that's not enough. I'm going to put the whole thing in there. So it would have been 4 parts of texture medium if using the fluid acrylic paints. This is perfect. Oh, this is perfect. And all this is creating a little bit of texture. You got to make sure that you really clean your equipment though, your tools, when using this product. I think it's time for Joe to get some, what's that stuff? That stuff that stops your chair from squeaking. Now you can apply this with a brush, or you can apply it with a, apply it with a brush or a palette knife. Let me quickly dry this first because there's still little parts that are tacky. Fill this in first. Doesn't take a lot. And basically you just push it in until it doesn't go in anymore. And all this texture, I'm just going to flatten that out a bit. It doesn't really matter how that's, where's the other hole? I Oh, it's filled with paint. Doesn't really matter because we're going to be applying this one here. Wood filler is the better choice though. But you think with a workshop, professional workshop that we have in the house, you would think that we would be prepared for that. But no. Okay, so now I'm going to take the mixture and I'm just going to apply that. Sorry, I just had a glare there. And I'm applying this slowly, making sure I don't put too much on there. And you want to leave some of the white showing. And you can also come back and you can sand parts of it as well. So with this here, I'm not going to use horizontal strokes. I'm going to be coming in with vertical strokes because it's more flows with the design other than the top. Again, with this, it's completely up to you how much of this you want to put on. If you want to just do a light coat like this, oops, off camera, a light coat like that, or if you want to do something heavier, because we're going to be coming in after with another layer of the white and a darker mixture of, we're going to use the Vintage Effect wash, the turquoise, to over some of the areas. So I'm just going to continue on with this, and I'm going to leave the camera running. So for beginners, you can see the whole process. And these are actually nice things that you can sell as well, especially when you're making them unique. And that's why if you can find stuff at the consignment store, because the likelihood that it's, you know, the mass-produced product, depending on what it is, like this here is a one of a kind. There's tons of goblets out there, but this was turned by hand. This is something that, you know, is handmade, so it adds value, it being unique. But not everybody has a lathe. You can get stuff at the consignment store and then upcycle it, and people love buying stuff that's been upcycled because it's something that doesn't end up in landfill. But you can make this any color you want. If you wanted to make this look like a metal one, you would use the Vintage Effect wash. There's a silver. You would use silver and then a gray, silver and gray, and you could even add a trim to it. I'm going to be adding some of the metallic luster just as a hit of highlight. So this will look like a cup that's been sitting outside. Sand's got stuck to it and it's been weathered. The weather. And this is where I was filling it in. See, it disappears. It just disappears. Now, if by chance, okay, so let's say this area here, you put too much, you can come in with sandpaper. Once it's dry, you can come in with sandpaper and remove some of the excess. But this is nice. Oh, yeah, Mia heard somebody set up a firecracker outside. Mia's here in the studio now. She's going to try to climb under my desk. There she goes. Oh, under my desk she goes. Oh, Mia. Those neighborhood kids. All right, so you can leave it, see, unfinished. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just make sure you get rid of any heavy ridges. And this part here where as I'm turning it, it's touching the paper. I'm going to put it on my little pyramids. And work the bottom. The bottom, I do want it completely covered because is what's going to be in contact with the table. I just got to see around. Contact with the table, so I don't want anything to chip, even though I'm going to be varnishing it. And then here, this doesn't really matter because it's going to be varnished, but I'm going to just go in just about 1/4 of an inch down. Just to finish the whatever's exposed. Again, this cactus needs very, very little water. You know what else would be? An air plant. An air plant would work really nice. So with that, you could use a goblet, and see what I would do is I could have got Joe to turn it down just to about here, so about 1/4 of the way down, so it would only have like a almost like a little tray look. Fill it with resin and some color, and then have an opening, and then the air plant could just sit in there because air plants don't have to go in dirt. And that would be truly unique. So I'm just getting rid of my fingerprints. You don't want to sell art and advertise it that you've got your DNA on it, right? All right, so I'm going to let this dry. It's going to take a couple of hours to let this fully dry. And then when we come back, we're going to be creating another layer with the turquoise over some of the areas. Now this turquoise, much, much darker. So I'm going to apply it in just some areas, and so it doesn't go over the whole piece. And then what you're going to do is after that, when that's dry, then you're going to come in with the Vintage Effect, the white, this one here, and you're going to brush it into some optional areas. So, and you can also send it with water if you want more of a lighter blue and not more of a white. So it's going to be, and I already created a video of a pot, a flower pot that I upcycled using this technique. I didn't color mix the paint though, but it's a similar technique, except that was on a clay pot. All right, so I will come back in a couple of hours and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so it's all dry now, and I came back in. Where did I do it? I put in a little bit more of the texture sand paste. The hole was there. There's another hole here. I'm not going to worry about that. So we're going to come in now with the Vintage Effect Wash, the turquoise. And we're going to brush in random areas. So I'm going to get a paper towel here. Load my brush and then just create a loading zone there. And just come in with this flat brush and just where the paint gets grabbed, that's where it takes. The other thing, instead of using a flat brush like this, you can turn around and use a stencil brush. I'm just going to show you both techniques. And this is a little bit easier on the brush because this is a lot of texture. So you can just come in and don't go over an area too many times. Like here there was a big solid blue piece, like even here's a big solid blue piece, come in with a little bit of that dark turquoise just to break up the color. Like here there's, you know, a lot of stuff happening, so I'll go in the opposite direction just to break that up a little bit, then feather that out. And really, this is to your own style. The bottom areas, this is where I missed some stuff. I'll just come in, because this is going to be hidden. I'm going to put more of the turquoise under here, which will help with shading. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And just drag that out. Okay. And just kind of making everything tie together. Then on the stem, and if you find that this color isn't dark enough, then you can just deepen it with a little bit more regular acrylic. You're just coming in just to change that color a bit. Oh, let me put that there. But yeah, if you're using texture sand paste, just recognize that it is very hard on your brushes. What we're going to do is once this dries, we're going to come back in and overlay some vintage effect white. Now on the bottom, I'm going to put solid color on the bottom. And fade that up. Because what I'm going to do is everywhere where there's a rounded edge, I'm going to come in with the metallic wax. Just going to blend that up a little bit. This candle holder is coming in really handy. There we go. So just take a peek. Some areas that just don't look right. Looks pretty good. Now I'm going to tilt this so I can see it. I'm going to come in with just... I don't want any pure white showing through. It can be a lighter white or a lighter blue, but I don't want any pure white showing through. It looks unfinished on this particular piece anyways. And where the sand is, it really gets enhanced with this paint. All right, so now I'm going to turn around. And just paint it inside here. Brush that down. This will take nothing to dry. Oops, I put paint here and I didn't blend it. There we go. And really with this, like I said, it's all based on your own style. I want the bottom part here to be a little bit darker. Because don't forget, we're going to come in with white. Here we go. That's nice and rustic. Gonna let that dry for about 15 minutes. Then we're gonna come in with the white. Now with the white, you can again brush in random areas, but because this is vertical, you can thin this with water, and then you can go, which will make it even more translucent, and it'll drip down. So that's an effect that you can try if it's something you want, which might be nice if I did that right up here, is to create the drip effect all the way down. We should try that. This is almost dry. Okay, yeah, let's give that a shot. There's no way that I can show you from a side angle, so I'm going to just show you what the dripping looks like. So you load the paint, it's mix it with 2 to 1 with water, and you press, and then it's for vertical, and then it drips down. And because this is transparent, it'll have a really nice look. So I'm just doing this upside down so you can see, and that's how it would dry. So I'm going to flip that around the other way and blot it. Because I want to do it this side down. I just wanted to demonstrate that. All right, but like I said, I won't be able to sure, because my camera's mounted overhead. So I'm just going to push this. And I'm going to spray some additional water on that. It's starting to drip. The key is so it's not too opaque. Oops, too much water. See? going all the way down. And then basically you just keep repeating that until it's the look that you want. Oh, that works much better. Look at that. Now, what if you don't like this? You just cover it with more of the turquoise paint. This technique is working so much better. I just have to make sure I turn it where none of the paint is touching my fingers. Get my fat head in the way. Sorry if my head was in the camera view. Oh, this is really neat. I've never done this before, and it's quite interesting. That is cool, cool, cool. Okay, I'm going to use up the leftover paint and go the opposite direction just to fill in this here, so I don't have to waste the paint, or throw it out, I should say. And I'll just kind of brush that in. It's not necessary because we're going to be varnishing this, but at least now it'll look like it's finished on the inside. So when you're selling stuff, that's always a bonus, is when, you know, you paint the back of the art piece, or you actually finish or sign it. Wow, that is interesting. Let me just see if I can grab this to show you. Look at that. So I'm finding those lines a little strong. I'm going to spray them with a bit of water to dissolve them a bit more. Let me put this on top of my painter's pyramid. I wish you could see what I'm doing here. I'll pick it up in a second. See how it's just dissolving? And then when I'm actually spraying it, yeah, there's no way I can show you this properly. Oh, I hope I can spray the camera. Oh boy. Oh, nice, 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 nice. Oh. Spray that to go down a little bit more. Okay, I'm missing some paint here. Let's see if I can. See, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to put this on here. Whoa. I'll let that dry. And then the beauty of this is that if you want a stronger effect, you can even repeat the same thing with the blue. So I'm looking at this and I'm going to blot the bottom, and I am actually thinking I'm going to come in with more white. And a little bit more water. And basically just repeat it again. And when you're doing this, make sure you measure the ratio that's on the bottle. I'm hoping you can see some of that paint running down the side. See, if I would have been filming this 15 years ago, we had like 3 cameras. Not anymore. And when it's by myself and I'm doing all the filming, it's hard. Trying to get all these beautiful shots. Oh, this is nice. Okay, I'm just going to paint the top a bit more. Now, with all this stuff here, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get, you know, why are you always changing your mind and stuff like that? Because like this, I've never painted this before. I'm just showing, you know, this is my process, is to experiment when trying something new. And I'm not going to hide the mistake. I'm just going to show you, and it's a process. I find way too many creatives are worried about the outcome and they're not enjoying the journey. They're not enjoying the process of learning. You find me one artist that says they know everything, and I'm going to call them a liar. Nobody knows everything. We're always learning. That is cool. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit this with the heat gun because I want to set this part here. So let's see if I can actually show it to you. All right, so it's all dry now. And I'm going to take the Metallic Luster Brilliant Turquoise, and I'm going to take a stencil brush. I'm just going to go over this, and it's a wax finish. And I'm just going to, the areas that are hitting the light, I'm going to put some of this on. Now with this here, I'm thinking, oh my goodness. I want the top to be a bit shinier. And when you put this on, avoid the areas that have the sand, if possible. Because this you have to polish to bring out the shine. So I'm going to do every curve, because that's where the light would hit. You know what? I'm going to hit that with a little bit of water, because this is water soluble, water dissolvable. There we go. You don't have to go everywhere. Where I just went to, there's wax there. And what this will make it look like metal. And if it's too much, you just take a little bit of water on a cloth and you wipe it off. I love this stuff. It takes a little bit of work to get it going. And where there's turquoise, that's where I'm really hitting it. Going in some areas that just have a really big bump. And when you're reloading, just see, it's a bit too much. When you're reloading, just do a light touch just to make sure you don't put too much on there. And this is a big white spot here, so I'm going to break that up a little bit. Just put a little bit where there's dark blue. Again, this is totally optional. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you couldn't see what I was doing, I'm going to take a clean, like a new kitchen cloth, and I'm going to buff this out. Again, this is optional. Just adds a lot of beautiful, beautiful highlights. I'm gonna brush it off the excess on a paper towel because this is going to be strong now. Yep. I want to break up that white so it doesn't look so streaky. So it all depends on what you're painting as well. The unfortunate thing is now that I've painted this, other than what's here, I only can smell a little bit of the cedar. I love the smell of cedar. Go back in where some of the dark blues are. I want to bring a little bit more accent to this area right here. And then once the top is finished, then we just varnish and voila, we're finished. And then what I'll do is I'll plant a little cactus so you can see what it looks like. Oh yeah, look at that. That is gorgeous. So you're getting a mix of flat and metal. May not be for everybody, but I love metal. And I'm sure there's somebody out there that also loves metal as much as I do. Okay, I think we're ready to do a little bit of polishing. There we go. I think we have, like I said, this stuff here takes a little bit of elbow grease, but once you've got it going, this has got a lot of sand right here. I just wish it was a little bit more green. Now, mind you, I could have done some color mixing. All right, so let's get, oh my goodness, let's get the kitchen wipe. Keep all those pieces. And I'm going to come in, and you'll probably see it on this piece here. Now I'm just going to polish. And look how shiny that's getting. Oh my goodness. The unfortunate thing is that where the texture sand is that it's going to destroy the cloth, but that's okay. Look, it just pops. That just really pops. You buff it till it's really shiny. Down, and you just keep buffing. Alright, so while I was polishing, Joe came in, I showed me he really liked it, and I said, okay, so I'm going to varnish all of this, but I don't know if I want to varnish it with the high gloss. He goes, no, don't varnish it with the high gloss. So I'm thinking just in here, but we'd lose, if you varnished with matte, you'll lose the shine of the metal, so we're going to keep this indoors. But I started varnishing the inside, and what I did is I went to the top and then I just brushed it down ever so slightly so the varnish just kind of went over like this. If you wanted the look of water overlapping this, you could take the Décor triple thick and just put it on the edge and it will drip down the edge. It wasn't meant for that, but that would be something too that you could try. That actually might be cool. So we're holding this as a prototype. And now I know, because this was just a scrap piece of wood. So now I know what I would do different. And what I would do different is either getting a little cup for the inside or pouring a micro thin layer of UV resin, hit it with the LED light so it'll cure immediately. And that way you can plant whatever you want in here. Just don't put too much water. The resin will protect from the wood, but because there's no drainage holes, your plant, the roots will drown. So I'm just going to the edge. So the edge is just the edge is going to be shiny. Make it look like the water is kind of going over, but that the idea with the triple thick, I still may try that. And if I do try it, I'll post a picture. I'll do either a YouTube short or an Instagram story, or do something just to share it with you guys. All right, so I'm going to let this sit now for at least 24 hours before I plant the little cactus inside. But what we're looking at, where did he go, is that, except without the little brown pot. Well, there we go. So I've got some close-up shots to show you the texture in the pieces and just the color pops. You can see the hint of highlight on the edge. And here it is fully done. I love the way little cactus sits in the pot. Now, the funny thing is that there was no root system with this cactus, so hopefully it's not going to die. But look at all that texture. So I do have to fully varnish this because I can't put it outside. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this project and that it inspired you to create something on your own using a variety of different acrylics. And until I see you in the next video, stay inspired.